G'day folks, it's Forteetu here, back talking about Star Citizen. A couple of weeks ago I did this video talking about my 660 Ti, right? I had a Asus NVIDIA 660 Ti in my system, and I started playing some Star Citizen to see whether it was going to be able to handle it or not. Did a video about that, what it was capable of, some video settings that really helped. Recently, I've gotten a 1070, so I wanted to come back and take a look and kind of compare them. So you can see here, running around in the hangar, like up on the wall in the back there, that the textures on the floor, they don't fully load in, they stay all kind of wonky. But look what happens when I switch over to the 1070. Everything's much more clear, all the textures are popping in. I found out a good part of that was that there's only 2 gigs on the 660 card, there's 8 gigs on the 1070. And Star Citizen, as I'm measuring it, runs about 4 gigs worth of video memory loaded in with all the textures. Now another big thing that changed was I went from the absolute lowest settings on the 660 Ti to the absolute highest settings that I could get on the 1070. And I also stopped using the configuration file that Board Gamer UK has put together. I mentioned those before. There's a config file, user.config file that he's made up that take away a lot of the extras to allow you better performance. There's also another one that he does that just gives you the absolute best in graphics. I've removed all of that. The only exception that I have is that I'm still running motion blur off because, well, I just hate motion blur. But you can see how crisp everything is, how clear everything is. All the textures are popping in. Well, you know, not popping in, but all the textures are coming in the way that they're supposed to. Everything looked nice and fully rezzed and clear and crisp. So the hangar's great and the frame rate is much improved. Let's go have a look around Crusader. So this is back to the 660 Ti that I was running, and at the time I had EVGA precision up in the top left corner there, trying to do some frame counting. And you can see that the frames kind of bounce anywhere from down in the teens to kind of just up into the 20s and 30s. I was finding on the 1070, running around in this same area here, with all the graphics turned up on much higher now, all the lighting effects in, and getting at least the same frame rates, if not higher. So now here we are on the 1070, running around in the Crusader area. You can see everything is nice and crisp, nice and clean, smooth, detail and all the lighting, all the shadows are working fine. And even though I've got some people running around on the server when I was there, the frame rates are, again, back into the 30s and 40s rather than down into the teens. So even on the multiplayer servers, running around within the environment with other people, now using all the highest graphic settings, and still getting much better frame rates in there. I'll just have a quick look in here, run around in the shop a little bit. So if we come in here and have a look into the cutty, the whatever the hell this is called, the weapon shop. I can't remember what the hell it is. These armors, I almost put that armor back on, the one in the middle there. The medium armor, that's the one that screwed up my gun sights and screwed up the medi pen in the hand and all the rest of that stuff, which 2.6.1 is fixing, or has fixed. If you're in the PTU, will be fixing in the live here pretty soon. Alright, back onto the 660 again. Now we're in Crusader, and you can see that texture problem there on the Cutlass. None of those textures are actually loading in. Everything's just kind of gray, muddy, smeared out with no sharpness or no detail, and it's just the 660 incapable of handling the level or the number of textures that were there. You can see the lighting is a bit really high contrasty. The darks in areas you just can't see in the dark. Here, internal to the cabin, everything's really washed out and muddy looking. I mean, it works, and the frame rate's playable on the 660, but it's certainly a much better experience on the 1070. The texture for Crusader, the planet there is all kind of muddy and smeared out. You're not getting any of the detail of the cloud patterns or anything else within Crusader itself. I took off here, went and had a fly over to one of the comms arrays. That's funny, now as you take off, some of the other textures disappear from view, which frees up some video memory, and then all of a sudden, pop, in comes the texture for Crusader there, because, you know, some of the other stuff has been able to leave memory and make room for it. And that, again, is just not something that I'm finding at all with, you know, 4 times the video memory on the 1070. Here in Quantum Drive, you can see how it's a bit janky and a bit jumpy. It kind of stutters a bit because of the frame rate. The combat that I got involved with here, again, combat's playable. Even on the 660, everything turned down to low, I was finding that I was capable of playing as long as there weren't too many enemies around. So like me against a couple of pilots, I was okay. And I'm not a great pilot, I'm actually a crap pilot, which is why I plan on being a medic when the game comes out. I am not the best fighter pilot in the world by any stretch of the imagination. But even on the 660, it was playable. Jump to the 1070, and this becomes much more playable and much prettier. So here we are back on the 1070, running up to our ship up on the deck here at Port Olisar, and you can see everything is crisp and clear. The Crusader textures are all in, you get all the detail and the cloud patterns and everything. And even the lighting is much better, so the stuff that's in the shadow, even though it's high contrasted, you can still see it. It's not like staring into pitch blackness where you just can't see anything at all. Just to jump forward here a little bit, we'll jump into a Quantum Drive. You see how all this much smoother, much higher frame rate, everything just kind of zips past nice and smooth without all of those kind of janky stutters in there. And when we get into combat, the 1070 absolutely does not improve my flying capabilities. I'm still a crap pilot, but it is much smoother. Here we go, we got a couple of pilots. There's a Gladius and a 350R. I'll take on the Gladius first because that is definitely my bigger threat between the two of those. The 350R is fast as snot, but it just doesn't have the weaponry to carry on and really put the punch in quite as much as Gladius does. So I'll chase this little guy down here. Frame rates that I was getting in here, this is in the persistent universe, and the frame rates that I was getting were in the 30s and occasionally even popping up into the 40s. The Precision X software that I was running before doesn't really seem to work on this 1070 very well. It was reading the card funny, so I stopped using the Precision X. The frame rate counters that I was getting were coming off of Shadowplay, the NVIDIA software that comes with the GTX cards. So just trying to keep this Gladius in my sights. It's a slippery little bastard. I'll come around and get some guns onto it, and he pulls me into a pretty tight turn here. And I can get a couple shots in on him, and a couple more shots in on him. I'll tell you, I know one of the things that's nice, 261, I can't wait for this when it comes out, is going to get rid of the missile markers. You see the missile marker that's flashing there that's telling me that there's a missile. I actually don't know whether there's a missile on my tail or not because those markers get locked in. Another couple of shots on him. Come around again. Doing a little chase here. Yeah, come on. Now landed some shots. Got you spinning, you little bastard. Sit still. Sit still. Come on. Around. Line him up, and see you later. Bye-bye now. Whoo! And turn on this 350R, and eventually, I'll be honest, I don't make short work out of it all. He kills me in the long run. I guess I should have gone after the 350 first. Hey, but anyway, I am going to leave this one here, because I just wanted to do a quick little comparison between what I was on the 660, and what the 1070 actually allows for that in a difference. I hope you're enjoying the game. I sure as hell am, and I hope to see you around the verse. Hey, if you like this, do me a favor, click like, subscribe, share the video, or no, don't share the video, whatever. But if you do like the content, show your support. I'd appreciate it. Thanks everybody, hope to see you in the verse. Adios.